The lock clicked. Once, twice, three times. Rebecca Morrison stood on her own front porch on Christmas Eve, 7 months pregnant, watching the red light blink. Access denied. Her key didn't work anymore. Inside her house, she could see movement. A younger woman, using a different key. The door opened for her. But here's what her millionaire husband Trevor didn't know. The elaborate nativity scene on his front lawn, the one with Mary and Joseph searching for shelter, it was hiding 4 cameras. And they'd been recording everything for months. Every secret visit from his girlfriend, every plan he made with his lawyer, every rehearsal of how he'd lock his pregnant wife out and make her look crazy. He thought he was so smart, thought he'd covered every angle, thought the cameras would protect him. He was wrong. This is the true story of how one woman lost everything on the worst night of her life and used her husband's own surveillance system to destroy his lies and take back her future. What happened next will make you believe in justice again. Stay with me, because this story gets so much better. The lock clicked. Once, twice, three times. Rebecca Morrison stood on her own front porch, key turning uselessly in the deadbolt that no longer recognized her. Snow fell in thick, wet flakes, clinging to her eyelashes and melting against her flushed cheeks. 7 months pregnant, arms full of wrapped presents. She stared at the red light blinking on the smart lock like an accusation. Access denied. She shifted the packages, the paper crinkling loud in the silent night. Christmas Eve, 8 o'clock. The street was empty except for the glow of holiday lights reflecting off fresh snow. Every house warm and golden. Every family inside. Every door unlocked to the people who belonged. Except hers. Trevor. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Trevor, it's freezing out here. She could see his car through the garage window. The Tesla, charging. He was home. He had to be home. The baby kicked. Hard. A foot or elbow pressed against her ribs, and Becca wrapped one arm around her belly instinctively. 7 months along, 32 weeks. The maternity dress she wore was designer, cashmere, cream-colored, already soaked through at the hem from the slush on the porch steps. She tried the key again. Same result. Red light. Denied. Her phone. She pulled it from her coat pocket with shaking fingers. Called Trevor. It rang inside the house. She could hear it through the door. 4 rings. 5. Voicemail. Hey, this is Trevor Morrison. Leave a message and I'll get back to you. The beep felt like a slap. Trevor, I'm locked out. The key doesn't work. Can you please open the door? It's snowing and I'm freezing. She hung up, waited. The snow kept falling. The house stayed dark except for one thing. The nativity scene on the front lawn. Trevor had installed it last year. Elaborate, life-sized figures. Mary and Joseph. The manger. Shepherds. Wise men. All bathed in warm spotlights that made the snow around them glow. Beautiful. Peaceful. Holy. The irony wasn't lost on her. Mary and Joseph searching for shelter, finding a stable. Someone had taken them in. Becca had lived in this house for 8 years, and now her own door wouldn't open. She walked around to the side, tried the garage code. The keypad beeped. Red light, code invalid, changed, back door, locked. She could see into the kitchen through the window. Everything neat, clean. The Christmas cookies she'd baked yesterday still on the counter in their tin. The coffee maker set to brew at 6 a.m. like always. Everything normal, except nothing was normal. Windows, all locked. She checked each one. Snow soaking through her ballet flats, her feet going numb. The neighborhood was the kind where people didn't lock their windows, but Trevor had, recently, every single one. Her phone buzzed, a text message. Trevor. She opened it with fingers so cold she could barely feel the screen. Divorce papers being delivered tomorrow. You need to leave. Security has been notified. Becca read it 3 times. The words didn't change. Another text appeared below it. You can stay at your mother's. This is my house. His house. The prenup. She'd signed it 8 years ago when they got engaged, before Trevor's startup went public, before the millions. When this house was just a dream they shared over takeout Chinese food and cheap wine. The prenup gave her almost nothing. She remembered that now. $50,000. That was it. The house, the cars, the investments, all his. Her hands weren't shaking from cold anymore. They were shaking from something else, something hot and sharp rising in her chest. She walked back to the front porch, stood under the small overhang that barely kept the snow off, looked at the nativity scene, really looked at it. That's when she saw them. Small, black, disguised as decorative elements tucked into the scene. But once she noticed the first one, she couldn't stop seeing them. 4 camera, one near Joseph's staff, one attached to the manger, one hidden in the shepherd's crook, one mounted on the angel's wing, all pointing at the porch, at the front door, at her, recording. Trevor had installed security cameras disguised as Christmas decorations, and she'd never noticed. Too trusting, too busy being pregnant and excited about becoming a family, too stupid to see what was happening in her own home. Becca did what every woman does when reality shatters into something unrecognizable. She pulled out her phone, checked it obsessively. Lock screen, text messages, lock screen, bank app, lock screen, joint account, 0 balance. She blinked, refreshed. 0 balance. $73,000 gone. Her personal account, the one she'd kept from before marriage. Small, private. Her mother had insisted she keep something of her own. $3,200, still there, untouched. Everything else, gone. The credit cards. She checked those too. Canceled. All of them. The notification emails were there in her inbox. Dated today, while she'd been at her mother's house wrapping presents and baking gingerbread cookies with Diane. Trevor had been systematically locking her out of her own life. The baby kicked again. Becca pressed her hand to her belly, felt the movement. Life. Innocent. Depending on her. And she was standing on a porch in the snow with nowhere to go. She sat down on the steps, right there in the slush. Designer dress soaking through, presents scattered around her, and something inside her broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet crack, like ice on a frozen lake. The kind you don't hear until you're already falling through. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello, Mrs. Morrison. This is Jennifer from Morrison Security Services. We've been notified that you're attempting unauthorized access to the property. We need you to leave immediately or we'll have to contact the police. Morrison Security Services. The company Trevor's friend owned. The one that did all the smart home installations for tech executives. This is my house, Becca said. Her voice sounded strange. Distant. The property owner has requested you vacate. If you don't leave within 10 minutes, we'll dispatch officers. The call ended. Becca looked at the cameras, recording everything. Her arriving home with presents, her trying her key, her calling Trevor, her sitting on the steps in the snow like some pathetic, hysterical pregnant woman who couldn't take a hint. That's what the footage would show. Not a wife locked out by her husband. A woman who wouldn't leave when asked. Trespassing. Unstable. Erratic. He'd planned this. Every detail. The timing. The cameras. The narrative he was building. Headlights turned onto the street. Becca's heart jumped. Trevor. Maybe he'd change his mind. Maybe this was some awful test or misunderstanding, or the car wasn't Trevor's. A white Mercedes. Expensive. New. It pulled into the driveway. Right up to the garage. A woman got out. Young. Late 20s maybe. Blonde hair in beachy waves. Designer athleisure. The kind of woman who looked like she just left a yoga class but was really coming from a professional blowout appointment. Becca recognized her. Amber Sutton. Instagram influencer. Lifestyle blogger. Trevor followed her. Becca had seen her in his feed. Assumed it was work-related. Trevor's company did marketing, influencer partnerships. Normal. Except Amber was walking toward the front door with a key in her hand. Becca stood up, belly making it awkward, ungraceful. "Excuse me," she called out. "This is my house." Amber turned, looked at Becca like she was a stranger asking for directions. Polite but distant. "Actually, it's Trevor's house," Amber said. Her voice was light, pleasant, the kind of voice that sold skincare products and vacation packages. The prenup was very clear. You should probably go before security arrives. She used her key. The lock clicked. Green light. The door opened. Warm air rushed out, carrying the scent of the pine candles Becca had lit that morning. Cinnamon and cloves and home. Amber stepped inside, turned back briefly. "Merry Christmas," she said. The door closed. Locked. Red light blinked. Becca stood in the snow, 32 years old, 7 months pregnant, locked out of her own house by her husband's girlfriend on Christmas Eve, and somewhere behind those decorative nativity cameras, it was all being recorded. Becca's phone was ringing. She stared at it. Vanessa, her best friend. The one person she'd texted earlier about running late because the line at the gift wrap station had been so long. She answered. "Becca, where are you? You sound weird." "I'm locked out." The words came out flat, emotionless. "Trevor changed the locks. There's a woman in my house. She has a key." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm 5 minutes away. Don't move. Do you hear me? Don't move." The call ended. Becca sat back down on the steps. The cold had stopped bothering her. Everything had stopped bothering her. Shock, maybe, or just the sheer absurdity of the situation making everything feel unreal. Across the street, curtains moved. The Hendersons, watching. Next door, a light turned on in an upstairs window. The Patels, also watching. Everyone watching, no one helping. Small town neighborhood, friendly, community-oriented. They'd all been at the HOA meetings where Trevor charmed everyone with his tech bro enthusiasm about smart doorbells and neighborhood safety apps. They'd all signed up for his security system discounts, and now they were all watching Becca sit in the snow and doing absolutely nothing. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Trevor. "Stop making a scene. You're embarrassing yourself." Making a scene? She looked at the cameras again. They'd captured everything. But what had they captured from Trevor's angle, from his carefully constructed narrative? They'd captured a woman who wouldn't leave when asked. A woman making a scene on Christmas Eve. A hysterical, pregnant wife. He was so smart, so calculated, and she'd been so trusting. "I'm not crazy," she thought. "This is calculated. He wanted me to look unstable. Pregnant woman hysterical on the porch? That's the story he's building." The validation whispered itself through her mind. Not a question, a statement, a truth she needed to name before it drowned in his gaslighting. Vanessa's car pulled up, a Honda Civic with a dented bumper and a coexist sticker. Real. Normal. Becca had never been so grateful to see someone in her life. Vanessa jumped out, didn't bother with a coat, ran up the steps in her scrubs. She was a nurse practitioner, still in her work clothes, must have come straight from the clinic. "Oh, honey," Vanessa breathed. She wrapped Becca in her arms. Warm, solid, real. Becca didn't cry. Couldn't. The tears were frozen somewhere inside her, along with everything else. "Come on," Vanessa said. "Let's get you out of here." "The presents," Becca said stupidly. "I wrapped them. For Trevor's family. For the charity drive. Leave them. My things, all my clothes, everything. We'll get them later. Right now, we're leaving." Vanessa helped her up, walked her to the car, opened the passenger door. Becca slid in. The heat was on. Christmas music played softly on the radio. Silent night. Holy night. All is calm. All is bright. Except nothing was calm, and the only thing bright was the spotlight on the nativity scene cameras recording her humiliation. Vanessa drove. Becca watched the house disappear in the side mirror. Through the front window, she could see movement. Amber, walking through the living room. Becca's living room. Amber was wearing something different now. Not athleisure, loungewear, comfortable, like she belonged. Maybe she did belong. Maybe Becca was the intruder. Maybe the whole 8 years of marriage had been the aberration, and this moment was the correction. "How long have you known?" Becca asked. Vanessa's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Becca, how long?" A long silence. Then 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. Through the entire pregnancy. Through every doctor's appointment where Trevor had seemed so excited. Through every nursery planning session. Through every moment, Becca thought they were building a family. I saw them together, Vanessa continued quietly, at Rosario's, that Italian place downtown. I thought maybe it was business. Trevor does marketing, right influencer partnerships. But then I saw how he touched her, how she looked at him. Becca closed her eyes. Rosario's, their anniversary restaurant, where Trevor had proposed, where they went every year to celebrate. He'd taken Amber there. Who else knew? Vanessa didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. Everyone your husband knew. The book club. The couples we had dinner with every month. People don't want to be the one to tell, Vanessa said softly. They convince themselves it's not their business. They think maybe they're wrong. Maybe they misunderstood. And then time passes and it gets harder and harder to say anything. And I look like an idiot. No, you look like someone whose husband is a manipulative bastard. Becca opened her eyes, looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, her best friend since college, maid of honor at the wedding, first person Becca told about the pregnancy. I'm sorry, Vanessa whispered. I'm so sorry. They drove in silence, past neighborhoods decorated for Christmas, past churches with nativity scenes that weren't hiding cameras, past coffee shops closing early for the holiday, past the life Becca thought she had. Vanessa's apartment was small, third-floor walk-up, no elevator. She helped Becca up the stairs, one slow step at a time, belly making everything awkward. By the top, Becca was breathing hard. Inside, the apartment smelled like vanilla candles and laundry detergent. Normal smells, safe smells. Vanessa's cat, Pepper, wound around Becca's ankles, purring. Sit, Vanessa ordered. I'll make tea. Becca sat on the couch, faded but comfortable. The TV was on, some Christmas movie. She didn't recognize it. On the coffee table, Vanessa had been wrapping presents, tape, scissors, ribbon. A normal Christmas Eve for normal people. The tea was chamomile. Becca held it but didn't drink. It smelled like every other crisis in her life. Chamomile tea and sympathy. When her father died, when she lost her job, when she had the miscarriage 2 years ago that no one except Trevor and Vanessa knew about. Chamomile tea, the taste of bad news. You should call your mom, Vanessa said. Becca nodded, pulled out her phone. Diane answered on the first ring. Sweetheart, did you make it home okay? The snow is getting bad. Mom, Becca's voice cracked. Finally, the tears came. Hot and sudden and unstoppable. Mom, Trevor locked me out. A sharp intake of breath on the other end. What do you mean locked out? He changed the locks. Took all the money from our joint account. There's another woman. She has a key. She's in our house. Mom, I'm 7 months pregnant and he locked me out on Christmas Eve. Silence. Then Diane's voice, hard as steel. Pack a bag. You're coming home. I can't get my things. He locked me out of everything. Then come as you are. I'll buy you new things. Where are you now? Vanessa's apartment. I'm coming to get you. Mom, you hate driving in the snow. I'm coming to get you, Diane repeated. 30 minutes. Stay there. Stay warm. And Rebecca. Yes, this isn't your fault. Do you hear me? None of this is your fault. The call ended. Becca sat with the phone in her hand, stared at the screen. Notifications started appearing. Text messages, the prenatal yoga group chat. Becca, what's happening? Trevor just posted something weird on Instagram. Are you okay? Instagram. Becca opened the app with shaking hands. Went to Trevor's profile. The most recent post was from 20 minutes ago. A photo of Trevor and Amber in the living room. Becca's living room. By the fireplace where Becca had hung their Christmas stockings that morning. Cozy, intimate. Trevor's arm around Amber, her head on his shoulder. The caption, sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the truest happiness. Grateful for second chances this Christmas. Hashtag new beginnings. Hashtag authentic living. 2,000 likes already. Comments flooding in. So happy for you. You deserve this, King. Best Christmas gift ever. One comment, buried. Where's your wife? Deleted. Even as Becca watched, it vanished. She clicked on Amber's profile. Same photo, different caption, Home is where the heart is. Finally found mine. Heart emoji. Amber was wearing pajamas. Christmas pajamas. Red and white stripes. Becca recognized them. Custom made. Ordered special. They said Morrison Family Christmas 2024. Becca had ordered them months ago. 2 sets. His and hers. Matching. For their first Christmas as parents-to-be. Amber was wearing Becca's Christmas pajamas in Becca's house with Becca's husband, while Becca sat in her friend's apartment with no money and no home, and no idea what happened to her life. Vanessa saw her face. "Don't look at social media," she said. "It'll just—" Becca's phone exploded with notifications. The mother's group chat, the book club, the neighborhood HOA. Everyone had seen. Book club. "Well, this is awkward." Book club. "I heard she was unstable." Book club. Trevor told Mark she threatened him. The lies were spreading. Faster than truth. Faster than Becca could defend herself. And if she tried, if she posted anything, said anything, she'd look exactly like Trevor wanted her to look. Hysterical. Unstable. The crazy ex-wife who couldn't let go. He's rewriting our entire marriage in real time, Becca thought, making me the villain in my own life story. But I know the truth. That has to be enough. The validation whisper was quieter this time, less certain, because what good was truth when everyone believed the lie? The baby kicked, strong, insistent, reminding her that this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about protecting someone who couldn't protect themselves. Becca set down the tea, looked at Vanessa. "I need a lawyer," she said. "The best divorce lawyer in the city. Someone who deals with prenups and rich men and complex assets." "I know someone," Vanessa said immediately. "Grayson Mitchell. He handled my cousin's divorce. Her husband was a neurosurgeon. Tried to hide money in offshore accounts. Grayson found everything. Can you call him? It's Christmas Eve. Please." Vanessa pulled out her phone, made the call, spoke quietly, hung up. "He'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., his office. He said this is exactly the kind of case he takes personally." Tomorrow, Christmas Day, most people would be opening presents with their families. Becca would be hiring a divorce lawyer to fight for the right to keep her own baby. A knock at the door. Diane. 30 minutes exactly. Becca's mother swept into the apartment like a force of nature. 58 years old, retired teacher, widowed for 5 years, small but fierce. She took one look at Becca and her face crumpled. "Oh, baby," she whispered. She crossed the room, pulled Becca into her arms, and Becca, 32 years old and pregnant and homeless, cried into her mother's shoulder like a child. "Come on," Diane said finally. "Let's go home." Home. The house Becca grew up in. Small, 2 bedrooms. Nothing like the mansion she just lost. But it had a door that would open when she needed it to. A bed that was hers. A mother who would fight for her. They made it to the car. Diane's old Subaru. Reliable. Safe. As they pulled away from Vanessa's apartment, Becca's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered out of habit. "Mrs. Morrison." "Yes. This is Officer Bradley Thompson from the precinct. Your husband filed a restraining order this afternoon. You're not to come within 500 feet of the residence or contact him directly. Do you understand?" Becca's blood went cold. What on what grounds? Erratic behavior. Threatening statements. He submitted Ring doorbell footage as evidence. The cameras, of course. The footage he'd carefully curated. Her trying her key, calling his name, standing on the porch. From his angle, from his narrative, it looked like harassment. "Officer, I'm 7 months pregnant. He locked me out of my own house in a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. The house is in his name, ma'am. According to the deed and the prenuptial agreement you signed. I'm just informing you of the order. Violation is a criminal offense. You could be arrested. I need my things, my clothes, the nursery furniture I bought. You can arrange a police escort to retrieve personal items, but not until after the holiday, and only with advance notice. 24 hours minimum." The call ended. Becca sat in the passenger seat, key still in her hand from the lock that had rejected her. The physical weight of it felt absurd now. Useless. She did what every woman does when gaslit by the system. She sat there, unable to move, just sat, staring. While her mother drove and snow fell and Christmas lights blurred past the window, in her coat pocket, her phone buzzed. Another notification, another post, another lie being built in real time while she had no power to stop it. The 27-minute wall was coming. That moment in every story where the audience decides whether to keep investing or walk away. Whether this woman's suffering was worth their time. Becca didn't know if her suffering was worth anything anymore. But she knew one thing. The cameras had recorded everything. Trevor thought that protected him. Thought his carefully edited footage told the story he wanted. But cameras don't lie. Not really. And somewhere in that footage was the truth. She just had to find a way to access it before he destroyed her completely. Diane's house smelled exactly the way Becca remembered. Pine and cinnamon. Her mother always made potpourri from scratch. Simmered orange peels and cloves on the stove. The Christmas tree stood in the corner of the living room. Small, real, decorated with ornaments Becca had made as a child, construction paper angels, popsicle stick reindeer. Nothing designer, nothing coordinated, just real. "Your room is ready," Diane said. "I changed the sheets this morning. Fresh towels in the bathroom." Becca's childhood bedroom. Pink wallpaper she'd begged for at age 12. A poster of some boy band she'd been obsessed with. Participation trophies on the shelves from soccer and spelling bees and art competitions. Before she learned that participation wasn't enough, before she became someone who needed to earn her place, the bed was the same twin-size frame from high school. Diane had kept everything, just in case. Just in case her daughter ever needed to come home. "Thank you," Becca whispered. "Don't thank me. This is what mothers do." Diane squeezed her hand. "Are you hungry?" Becca shook her head. The thought of food made her stomach turn. "You should eat something. For the baby." "I can't," Diane nodded, understanding. "Then rest. We'll figure everything out tomorrow." Tomorrow. Christmas. The day families gathered and opened presents and pretended everything was perfect. The day Becca would be hiring a divorce lawyer and figuring out how to survive. She lay down on the small bed, belly making it impossible to get comfortable. The baby moved. Constant. Restless. Maybe sensing Becca's stress. Maybe just being a baby. Becca pressed her hand to the spot where she felt the movement. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry your father is doing this to us." Her phone buzzed. Text message. Patricia Morrison, Trevor's mother. Becca considered not opening it, but curiosity won. "Rebecca, I heard about the situation. I'm sure you did something to provoke Trevor. He's a good man, a good son. He wouldn't act without reason. Perhaps you should consider what you did wrong and apologize." Becca read it 3 times. The words didn't improve. There it was. The assumption, the automatic defense. Trevor was the golden child, the successful son, the millionaire tech genius. Therefore, any problem in his marriage must be the wife's fault. She typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, "He locked me out of the house on Christmas Eve while I'm 7 months pregnant. He emptied our bank accounts. He's posting pictures with another woman. But yes, Patricia, I'm sure I did something to deserve it." She hit send before she could reconsider. The response came immediately. "Don't be dramatic. I'm sure there's a rational explanation. Trevor loves you. He's just stressed with the business. You should be more supportive." Becca turned off her phone. Sleep didn't come. How could it? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Amber in her Christmas pajamas, saw Trevor's Instagram post, saw the red light on the lock that no longer recognized her. Around 2 a.m., Becca gave up. Went to the bathroom. In the mirror, she looked terrible. Mascara-streaked face, puffy eyes, wet hair from the snow, designer dress wrinkled and stained. She stripped it off, found an old t-shirt in her childhood dresser, some college logo she barely remembered. It stretched over her belly, barely fit, but it was clean and dry and hers. In the hallway, she heard movement. Diane was still awake too. Becca found her mother in the kitchen, making tea, chamomile again, of course. "Can't sleep either," Diane asked. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them, together, in my house." Diane set down 2 mugs. They sat at the small kitchen table. The same table where Becca had done homework and eaten breakfast and announced her engagement to Trevor 8 years ago. I never liked him, Diane said quietly. Becca looked up, startled. You never said anything. You were happy, or I thought you were happy. And who was I to say widowed teacher living alone? What did I know about relationships? Diane wrapped her hands around her mug. But there was something about Trevor, the way he talked about you, like you were a possession, a trophy, something he acquired rather than someone he loved. Then why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? Becca thought about it. Honestly, at 24, fresh out of grad school, watching her friends struggle with student loans and entry-level jobs, she'd met Trevor, successful, confident. He'd swept her off her feet, promised her the world, and she'd been so eager to believe him. No, she admitted, I wouldn't have listened. People don't want to hear the truth about someone they love. They have to discover it themselves. I just wish you hadn't had to discover it like this. Becca sipped the tea. It tasted bitter. She added honey. That didn't help. Did you know about Amber? No, but I knew something was wrong. These last few months, you stopped talking about Trevor, stopped sharing stories, started making excuses for why he missed family dinners. She was right. Becca had been making excuses. Trevor's working late, important client meeting, business trip, always something that sounded reasonable but felt wrong. I should have seen it coming, Becca said. Stop. Don't do that. Don't blame yourself for his choices. But maybe if I'd been what, prettier, thinner, more interesting, less pregnant? Diane's voice was sharp. There's nothing you could have been that would have made him a better man. This is who he is. And thank God you found out now instead of 20 years from now. 20 years. Becca couldn't imagine it. Could barely see past tomorrow. What am I going to do? Tomorrow you meet with the lawyer, you figure out your options, you fight for what you deserve, and you protect that baby. That's what you do. The baby kicked as if in agreement. They sat in silence, drinking terrible tea. Outside, the snow had stopped. Christmas morning was only hours away. Somewhere, Trevor and Amber were sleeping in Becca's bed, using her sheets, living her life. But Becca was alive and angry, and that anger was starting to burn hotter than the grief. At 9 a.m. on Christmas morning, Becca stood outside Grayson Mitchell's law office. Downtown, high-rise building, the kind of place that screamed expensive. Diane had offered to come. Becca said no. This was something she needed to do alone. The elevator was mirrored. Becca avoided her reflection. She'd done her best with makeup, tried to hide the puffy eyes and sleepless night, but there was no hiding the 7-month belly or the defeat in her shoulders. 10th floor, Suite 1003, Mitchell and Associates. The office was open. A receptionist sat at the desk, young, professional. She looked surprised to see anyone on Christmas. Rebecca Morrison, Becca said. I have an appointment with Mr. Mitchell. He's expecting you. Conference room B, down the hall, second door on the left. Grayson Mitchell was younger than Becca expected. 41, according to Vanessa. Dark hair, sharp suit even on Christmas. Kind eyes. That's what struck her most. Kind eyes that had seen this story before. Mrs. Morrison, he said, standing. Please, sit. Can I get you anything? Water, coffee. Water, please. He poured from a pitcher on the credenza, handed her a glass. Real glass, not plastic. Everything in this office spoke of success and competence. I've reviewed the preliminary information Vanessa provided, Grayson said. But I'd like to hear the story from you. Everything. Don't leave anything out, even details that seem minor. So Becca told him. All of it. The locked door, the change codes, the empty bank accounts, Amber with the key, the Instagram posts, the restraining order, the cameras disguised as nativity decorations. Grayson took notes, didn't interrupt. When she finished, he sat back. This is one of the more calculated cases I've seen, he said. And I've seen a lot. What are my options? He opened a folder. Inside were papers, the divorce filing Trevor had submitted. He's asking for sole custody of the child, Becca's heart stopped. What? He claims you're mentally unstable, that the pregnancy has been high risk and you've been mismanaging it due to erratic behavior? He submitted medical records as evidence. He what? He accessed your OB records, probably through the patient portal. You may have shared login information at some point. Technically illegal, but hard to prove. I was never high risk. My doctor said everything was perfectly normal. I know, I called her this morning. She confirmed, but Trevor's lawyer is claiming you refused bed rest recommendations that were never made, that you ignored medical advice, that you're unfit to care for a child. The room tilted. Becca gripped the edge of the table. He's lying. Yes, but he's lying strategically, building a narrative. The footage from the cameras shows you harassing him at the house. The bank records show you had access to money in your personal account, so you weren't destitute. The social media shows him moving on while you're making a scene. It's all designed to paint you as unstable and him as the reasonable party. So he wins. Not necessarily. Grayson leaned forward. Let me tell you about the prenup. He pulled out another document. Becca recognized it. She'd signed it 8 years ago. Barely read it. Too in love to care about worst-case scenarios. The prenup gives you $50,000. That's it. The house, cars, investments all his. You signed away rights to marital assets. I know. But Grayson smiled slightly. The prenup has a clause. It becomes void if either party commits adultery during the marriage. Becca's heart jumped. Amber. Exactly. If we can prove Trevor was having an affair, the prenup is worthless. Everything becomes community property, subject to division. His assets, which, by the way, are worth substantially more than he's claiming, would be split. Hold on, how much more? I have a forensic accountant looking into it, but preliminary estimates he's worth about 8 times what the divorce papers claim. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, hidden investments. He's been planning this for a while. 8 times. Millions. Hidden. While Becca thought they were building a life together. Can you prove the affair? That depends. Do you have evidence? Text messages, emails, photos? Just his Instagram and Amber's. They posted together last night. That helps, but it's not conclusive. They could claim it's a new relationship that started after he filed for divorce. We need proof of an ongoing affair during the marriage. Becca thought hard, tried to remember anything, any sign she'd missed. The cameras, she said suddenly. What about them? The nativity scene cameras. They're hidden security cameras. They've been recording for months, since Trevor installed the scene last year. They would have caught Amber coming and going. Grayson's eyes lit up. Who owns the footage? Trevor, I assume. It's his security system. But where's the nativity scene? On the front lawn, but it belongs to... Becca stopped, remembered. It belongs to the church, St. Michael's. They donated it to Trevor 3 years ago for a community display permit. It's still church property. Trevor just sets it up every year. And church property means church ownership of any security devices attached to it. Grayson was already pulling out his phone. What's the priest's name? Father Daniel O'Brien. I'll call him. If we can access that footage, we can prove the affair, prove Trevor's been planning this, prove everything. Hope, tiny and fragile, but hope nonetheless. What about custody? Becca asked. Even if we prove the affair, can he still take my baby? Grayson's expression softened. Not if I have anything to say about it, but you need to know this will be a fight. Trevor has money, resources, connections. He'll try to drag this out, make it expensive, make you give up. I won't give up. Good, because neither will I. They spent the next hour going over strategy, documents Becca needed to gather, statements from friends and family, medical records, bank statements, everything to counter Trevor's narrative. When Becca finally left the office, it was noon, Christmas Day. Most of the city was at home with family, opening presents, eating turkey, pretending everything was perfect. Becca stood on the sidewalk, checked her phone. 17 missed calls, all from blocked numbers. Trevor trying to reach her, or his lawyer, or both. One voicemail. She listened. Rebecca, this is Dr. Sandra Chen from Mercy General. I'm calling about your delivery registration. Our records show you canceled your registration here 2 weeks ago and transferred to Riverside Women's Hospital. I wanted to confirm everything went smoothly with the transfer. Please call me back. Becca's blood went cold. She hadn't canceled anything, hadn't transferred anywhere. She was registered at Mercy General, had been since her first trimester. She called back immediately. Dr. Chen, this is Rebecca Morrison. I just got your message. I never canceled my registration. I never transferred to Riverside. A pause. Mrs. Morrison, I have the cancellation request right here. Called in on December 10th. You said you were switching providers due to insurance changes. That wasn't me. The caller had your patient number, your date of birth, verified your information. Trevor, or someone he hired, impersonating her, sabotaging her medical care. Can I re-register? Becca asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm sorry, we're at capacity for January deliveries. I can put you on a wait list, but I can't guarantee a spot. I'm due in 9 weeks. I need somewhere to deliver. Let me check with Riverside. Maybe there was a miscommunication and they do have your records? Becca called Riverside while Dr. Chen was checking. Got the same answer. No records, no registration, no idea who Rebecca Morrison was. She was 37 weeks pregnant, no hospital, no OB on call, no delivery plan. Trevor had systematically erased her from the medical system. Becca sat down on a bench, right there on the sidewalk. People walked past, Christmas shoppers heading home, families bundled in scarves and hats. No one looked at the pregnant woman sitting alone on a bench on Christmas Day. She did what she always did when reality became too much to process. She sat in the bathtub metaphorically this time, since she was in public, but the impulse was the same. Find a small space, lock the door, breathe, process, survive. Her phone rang. Vanessa. Merry Christmas, Vanessa said, too brightly. How did the meeting go? He sabotaged my hospital registration. What? Becca explained. The cancellation. The transfer that never happened. 9 weeks until her due date and nowhere to deliver. Okay, Vanessa said, her nurse practitioner voice, calm, competent. Okay, I have connections. Let me make some calls. There's a midwife, Clara Stone. She does home births. Very experienced. I'll see if she has availability. I don't want a home birth. I want an epidural. I want a hospital bed. I know, but right now, you need a backup plan. We'll keep fighting for hospital access, but we need to make sure you're safe either way. Safe. What a concept. Becca hadn't felt safe since the lock clicked and denied her entry to her own life. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me. Just get back to your mom's house. Rest. Let me handle this. Becca took an Uber back to Diane's. Couldn't face public transit. Couldn't face people looking at her, wondering why a pregnant woman was alone on Christmas. At the house, Diane had made lunch, turkey sandwiches. Becca tried to eat, managed 3 bites. The baby kicked, demanding nutrition, demanding things be normal when nothing was normal. Your father would have killed Trevor, Diane said quietly. Just so you know. Becca's father had died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. He'd been a gentleman, taught high school history, loved bad puns and worse ties, but he'd been fierce about protecting his family. Dad would have figured out a way to fix this, Becca said. Dad would have been just as lost as the rest of us, but he would have held your hand while you figured it out yourself. That sounded right. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Becca almost didn't answer. Mrs. Morrison, this is Father Daniel O'Brien from St. Michael's. Father O'Brien? Your lawyer called me this morning about the nativity scene. I think you and I need to talk. Father O'Brien's rectory smelled like old books and coffee. The building attached to St. Michael's Church was stone and ivy, ancient by American standards. Built in the 1920s, Becca had attended Mass there exactly twice. Once when she married Trevor, once when they lost the first baby. She hadn't been back since. The priest was older than she remembered. 67, her lawyer had said. White hair, kind face. The uniform was casual black shirt, white collar, but comfortable shoes like he'd been doing yard work. Mrs. Morrison, thank you for coming. Thank you for seeing me on Christmas. The good Lord works every day. So do I. He gestured to a chair. Coffee, it's terrible, but it's hot. No, thank you. They sat in his office. Walls lined with theology books and framed photos of parish events. A window overlooked the cemetery. Peaceful, quiet. Your lawyer explained the situation, Father O'Brien said. I'm very sorry for what you're going through. Thank you. I want to show you something. But first, I need to tell you how I discovered it. He pulled out a laptop. Old, dusty, the kind that took 3 minutes to boot up. The Nativity scene, he continued. The church donated it to Trevor Morrison 3 years ago. He promised to display it every Christmas and maintain it. Part of our community outreach program. Good optics for everyone involved. I remember. What you might not know is that the scene is still technically church property. We loaned it, didn't transfer ownership, which means anything attached to it, including security devices, is also church property. Becca leaned forward. The cameras. I review all security footage from church property every week. Insurance requirement, liability, you understand. He turned the laptop screen toward her. I've seen things that trouble me. The screen showed 4 camera feeds, all labeled with dates and timestamps. September, October, November, December. This footage is backed up to a cloud server the church maintains. Father O'Brien said, Trevor doesn't have access to it. He thinks his personal security system is capturing everything. He's wrong. He clicked on a file. September 15th, afternoon. The footage showed the Morrison house, front porch, a car pulled into the driveway. White Mercedes. Amber got out, went to the front door, used a key, went inside. 3 hours later, she left. September, Becca whispered. I was pregnant. We just announced it to his family. Father O'Brien clicked another file. October 3rd, same thing. Amber arriving, staying hours, leaving after dark. October 27th, same pattern. November 8th, November 22nd, over and over. Amber coming and going with a key, while Becca was at work, at prenatal appointments, at her mother's house. How many times, Becca asked. I counted 37 visits between September and December. Always when you weren't home. Always for several hours. 37 times. Trevor had been sleeping with Amber in their bed, in their house, while Becca was building a nursery and buying baby clothes and believing her husband loved her. There's more, Father O'Brien said quietly. He clicked another file. December 23rd, evening. The footage showed Trevor and a man in a suit. They stood on the porch, talking, gesturing. The man pointed at the door, at the cameras, at his watch. That's Trevor's lawyer, Father O'Brien said. Robert Hutchins. I recognized him from parish events. The footage continued. Trevor and the lawyer went through motions. Trevor pretended to lock the door. The lawyer pretended to arrive. They practiced, rehearsed, timed it. Make sure you seem calm when you tell her to leave, the lawyer said. The camera had caught audio too. And if she makes a scene, Trevor asked, better for us. The more hysterical she looks, the stronger our case. They laughed. Actually laughed. Becca felt sick. December 23rd, Father O'Brien continued. During the day, this footage showed a locksmith van, a man changing the locks. All of them. Front door, back door, garage. Trevor supervised, paid in cash. While you were Christmas shopping, Father O'Brien said, according to the timestamp, another file, December 23rd, late afternoon, boxes being carried out of the house, Becca's belongings, her clothes, her books, her laptop, everything loaded into a truck, driven away. And finally, Father O'Brien said, December 24th, 5 p.m., the footage showed Trevor and Amber practicing. Trevor looked at his watch. She usually gets back from her mother's around 8, he said. And I arrive when? Amber asked. 8:15, after she's been locked out long enough to seem desperate. What if she doesn't leave? She will. I filed the restraining order this morning. If she doesn't go voluntarily, the police will make her. They rehearsed Amber's entrance. Her line about the prenup, her indifference, all staged, all calculated. Make it look natural, Trevor said. Like you belong here and she doesn't. Becca watched her own humiliation being choreographed, watched them practice destroying her life. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was how casual they were about it, like she was a problem to solve, not a person to consider. This is evidence of premeditation, she whispered. This is evidence of cruelty. Father O'Brien corrected. He closed the laptop, looked at her with those kind, sad eyes. I'm giving you copies of everything, he said. Every file, every timestamp. The church won't stand by while someone uses our property to harm another person. That's not what we're about. Thank you, Becca managed. Her voice was shaking. Thank you so much. I'm also going to do something else. Something that might be controversial. He stood, walked to the window. This Sunday, I'm preaching about what I've witnessed. Not naming names, but talking about cruelty disguised as righteousness. About how we treat the vulnerable. About cameras and truth. Trevor's family won't like that. They're big donors. I don't particularly care what they like. I care about what's right. Becca left the rectory with 3 USB drives in her purse. Backup copies. Evidence that would void the prenup. Prove the affair. Show the premeditation. For the first time since the lock had clicked, she felt something other than grief or rage. She felt hope. Back at Grayson's office, he told her to come immediately when she called. They reviewed the footage together, frame by frame. This is incredible, Grayson said. This proves everything. The affair, the planning, the deception. Can we use it in court? Absolutely. It's not illegally obtained. It's from church property, accessed by church personnel for legitimate oversight. Trevor has no expectation of privacy on property he doesn't own. So we can void the prenup. Void it, destroy it. Use it as toilet paper. Grayson was already typing notes. With this evidence, we can demand full disclosure of assets, force him to reveal everything he's hidden, and we can file for emergency custody orders based on his documented manipulation and fraud. What about the baby? Can he still try to take him take custody from you? Grayson laughed. Sharp, bitter. After this footage shows him systematically sabotaging your medical care, shows him planning to isolate you. Not a chance, huh? Any judge will see him for what he is. Relief flooded through Becca, made her dizzy. What happens next? Next, we go on the offensive. We file for emergency orders, full custody to you, child support based on his actual assets, not his claimed assets, restraining order against him, not the other way around, division of all community property, the works. How long will it take? Weeks, maybe months. Trevor will fight. He'll claim the footage is doctored or taken out of context. He'll hire expensive experts. He'll try to drag this out. I don't have months. I'm due in 9 weeks. I know. Grayson's expression softened. Which is why we're going to move fast. File everything tomorrow. Request expedited hearings based on your pregnancy. Put so much pressure on him that settling becomes his best option. What if he doesn't settle? Then we go to court and we destroy him. Becca should have felt satisfaction at that, vindication, but mostly she felt tired. So tired. Her phone rang. Marcus Webb, Trevor's business partner. They'd met at company events. He'd always seemed nice, normal. Rebecca, his voice was tight, stressed. We need to talk, in person, as soon as possible. About what? About Trevor. About things you need to know before this gets worse. They met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. Marcus looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. Rumpled suit like he'd slept in it. I should have told you months ago, he said without preamble. I'm a coward. I'm sorry. Told me what? Trevor's been planning this for over a year. The divorce. Everything. It's not about Amber. It's about money. Becca's stomach dropped. What do you mean, the company? We're selling it. Buyer's doing due diligence now. Closing in February. Trevor stands to make about $40 million from the sale. $40 million. The number didn't feel real. But here's the thing, Marcus continued. The buyer wants a stable CEO, family man, good public image. Trevor needs to look like he has it all together. Wife, baby on the way, perfect life. But he's divorcing me. He needs you to play along through the closing, appear at events, smile for photos, act like everything's fine. Then, after the money clears, he dumps you publicly, keeps the baby for optics, keeps Amber hidden in the background. Why would I do that? Because he's offering you $5 million to cooperate. It's in a settlement offer his lawyer was supposed to present today. $5 million. More money than Becca had ever imagined having. Life-changing money. Security for her and the baby. And if I don't cooperate, Marcus looked away, he'll fight you on everything. Custody, assets. He'll make it impossible. Expensive, brutal. He'll try to prove you're unfit, drag you through the mud publicly. He's already doing that. It'll get worse, much worse. Becca thought about the footage, the evidence she had, the truth that would void his prenup and expose his lies. What if I fight back? Marcus met her eyes. Then I'll help you. I can't keep working with him after seeing what he's done. My wife is pregnant too. I have a daughter. I can't be part of this. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, financial records, offshore accounts, shell corporations. The real value of Trevor's assets, 8 times what he'd claimed in the divorce filing. Everything you need to prove he's been hiding money. Everything you need to win. Becca took the folder. Why are you helping me? Because someone should have helped you months ago. And because Trevor Morrison is a bastard who deserves to lose everything. That evening, back at Diane's house, Becca sat in the bathtub, fully clothed this time. Water running, door locked. The only place in the world where she could process everything that had happened, the footage, the financial records, Marcus's defection, the evidence building like a tsunami about to crash over Trevor's carefully constructed lies. She thought about the $5 million offer, the easy way out. Take the money, play along, smile for the cameras, pretend. But she'd been pretending for 8 years, pretending Trevor loved her, pretending the marriage was real, pretending she was happy. She was done pretending. For too long I made myself small to fit his vision, she thought. Somewhere along the way, I forgot I was the prize, not the problem. The validation whisper felt stronger this time, more certain, because now she had proof, evidence that she wasn't crazy, that every instinct she'd ignored was correct. Her phone buzzed. Vanessa, found you a midwife, Clara Stone. She's amazing. 45 years old. Been doing home births for 20 years. She has availability. Can meet you tomorrow to discuss a birth plan. Thank you. How are you holding up? I have evidence. Footage from the church cameras. Financial records from Marcus. Everything I need to destroy him. A pause, then, good. Destroy him. That man deserves it. Becca ended the call. Sat in the warm water. Felt the baby move. 9 weeks until birth. 9 weeks to prepare. 9 weeks to fight. She could do this. She had to do this. Because the baby deserved a mother who fought. Who didn't accept scraps and humiliation. Who stood up and said no more. The door was locked. The water warm. The bathroom was her fortress. But soon, she'd have to leave it. Leave the safety. Fight the battle. And when she did, she'd be ready. The contractions started at 3 a.m. Becca woke to a tightening across her belly. Pressure, not painful, not yet, but unmistakable. She checked her phone. 37 weeks, 2 days. Early, but not dangerously early. Babies born at 37 weeks were usually fine. Usually, another contraction. She timed it. 7 minutes later, another one. Mom, she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. But Diane heard. Mothers always heard. Diane appeared in the doorway in her bathrobe. What's wrong? I think I'm in labor. The next hour was chaos. Diane timing contractions. Becca trying to breathe through them. Vanessa on speakerphone talking them through what to expect. Could be false labor, Vanessa said. Braxton Hicks can be intense. But at 37 weeks, could also be real. You need to decide emergency room or wait for Clara. The emergency room, Becca said. I need a hospital. Trevor has alerts on your name at every hospital in the city. If you show up, He'll know within minutes. I don't care. I need medical help. Diane grabbed car keys. They made it to the car. Contractions now 6 minutes apart. Definitely not false labor. Mercy General was 20 minutes away. The closest hospital, the one where Becca had been registered until Trevor sabotaged it. They burst through the emergency room doors at 4:15 a.m. A nurse looked up from paperwork. I'm in labor, Becca gasped. 37 weeks. Contractions 6 minutes apart. Name, Rebecca Morrison. The nurse typed into the computer. Frowned. Typed more. I'm not seeing you in our system. I was registered. My husband canceled it. But I'm in labor now. I need help. Let me page the OB on call. They waited. 15 minutes. Becca had 3 more contractions. Strong ones. The kind that made her grip Diane's hand hard enough to hurt. The OB appeared. Young. Tired. Probably been on shift all night. Mrs. Morrison. I'm Dr. Patel. I understand you're having contractions? Yes. Since 3 a.m. They're getting stronger. Let me examine you. In the exam room, Dr. Patel checked, measured, monitored. You're dilated to 2 centimeters. Contractions are regular. This is early labor. Relief. So you'll admit me. I can't. Becca's heart stopped. What? You're not registered here. We're at capacity for labor and delivery. I don't have a bed to give you. But I'm in labor right now. Early labor. You could be in early labor for hours, days even. I can't admit someone without a registration spot when we have other patients who are registered and further along. Where am I supposed to go? Do you have an OB? I did. Here. But my registration was canceled. Dr. Patel looked genuinely sympathetic. I'm sorry. The best I can do is monitor you for an hour, make sure baby's okay, and send you home with instructions. If you progress to active labor contractions 3 minutes apart, dilated to 6 centimeters, come back, and we'll have to admit you regardless of registration. And if there's still no bed, we'll figure it out. But right now, you're stable. Baby's stable. I can't justify admission. They monitored her for an hour. Contractions slowed to 7 minutes apart. The baby's heartbeat was strong. Everything looked normal. False labor after all, Dr. Patel said. Or very early labor that's not progressing yet. Go home. Rest. Come back if contractions get closer or your water breaks. Home. Diane's house. Not a hospital. In the car. Becca called Vanessa. They wouldn't admit me. Not even with active contractions. Not active enough, and no registration. They said come back if it gets worse. Okay, plan B. I'm calling Clara. She needs to be on standby. If you go into real labor, we might not make it to a hospital in time. Clara Stone arrived at Diane's house at noon. Calm, competent, carrying bags of supplies like she did this every day. Because she did. Let me check you, Clara said. No judgment, no panic, just professional assessment. In Diane's bedroom, Clara examined Becca. You're still at 2 centimeters. Contractions have slowed. Probably Braxton Hicks after all. Your body's practicing. What if it's real labor next time? Then we deliver here. I've delivered over 300 babies at home. It's safe when there are no complications. And your pregnancy has been textbook normal. What about pain relief? I can't give you an epidural, but I have other options. Nitrous oxide, water birth, positioning techniques. I'll be with you the whole time. It wasn't what Becca wanted, but it was better than nothing. Okay, she said. Okay. Clara left supplies, instructions, her personal cell number with orders to call anytime, day or night. After she left, Becca sat in the living room, stared at the Christmas tree Diane had put up, the homemade ornaments, the simple lights. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Rebecca, this is Father O'Brien. Father, I wanted to let you know I've made copies of all the footage, given sets to your lawyer, kept backups at the church, and I've done one more thing. What's that? I've sent the footage to the church's legal team, asked them to review for potential criminal activity, fraud, theft, forgery. If Trevor committed crimes, the church has an obligation to report them. Criminal charges. Becca hadn't even considered that. Would they actually prosecute? I don't know, but I wanted you to know you're not fighting this alone. The church stands with you. And if Trevor Morrison thinks he can use our property to harm someone, he's wrong. After the call ended, Becca felt something shift. Not just hope, power, the kind that comes from knowing you're not alone, that people are fighting for you. Her phone buzzed. Email notification from Trevor's lawyer. Settlement offer. She opened it with shaking hands. $5 million. Full custody to Trevor. Becca gets supervised visitation every other weekend. She appears at 2 company events before the sale closes, smiles for photos, plays the happy wife. After closing, they announce an amicable divorce. Due to irreconcilable differences, but remaining committed to co-parenting, the email continued. If she didn't accept within 48 hours, the offer was void. Trevor would fight for everything. Make it ugly. Public. Expensive. $5 million. Security for life. All she had to do was give up her baby and her dignity. Becca deleted the email, opened a new message to Grayson. Trevor offered $5 million to give him custody and play along. I declined. File everything. I want full custody, full asset disclosure. I want him to pay for what he did. Send. The die was cast. That night, Becca couldn't sleep. Every time she dozed off, contractions woke her. Still false labor, still practice. But her body was preparing for something. At 2 a.m., her phone rang. Grayson. Sorry to call so late, but I wanted you to know I filed everything this morning. Emergency custody hearing scheduled for January 2nd. Asset disclosure demands. The works. How did Trevor react? His lawyer called me 6 times. Threatened, blustered, claimed the footage was illegally obtained. I told him to prove it. He couldn't. What happens now? Now, we wait for the hearing, and we prepare. I need you to write down everything. Every detail of your marriage. Every red flag you ignored. Every moment you felt manipulated or controlled. Everything. That's going to be a long list. Good. The longer the better. We're building a pattern. Showing this wasn't one bad decision. It was 8 years of systematic control. After the call, Becca opened a new document on her phone. Started writing. The first time Trevor made me feel small was 3 months into dating. We were at a work event. I was talking to his colleague about a nonprofit project I was excited about. Trevor interrupted, made a joke about how I got too passionate about charity work. Everyone laughed, including me, but it hurt. She kept writing, memory after memory. The time he'd criticized her weight gain during the first pregnancy. The time he'd insisted she quit her job because it was embarrassing that she made so little compared to him. The time he'd screamed at her for 40 minutes because she'd forgotten to buy his specific brand of protein powder. Small things, each one forgivable, explainable. But together, they painted a picture of emotional abuse so clear she couldn't believe she'd missed it. Or maybe she hadn't missed it. Maybe she just convinced herself love was supposed to feel like this, like walking on eggshells, like constantly trying to be better, smaller, more convenient. At dawn, she had 20 pages. 20 pages of evidence that Trevor Morrison was not a good man who made one bad choice. He was a calculated abuser who'd been breaking her down for years. The baby kicked, strong, insistent. I know, Becca whispered. I know. We're going to be okay. She hoped that was true. 3 days later, New Year's Eve, Becca woke to her phone ringing. Vanessa, turn on the news. What? Why? Just turn it on. Channel 7. Becca found the remote. Clicked to Channel 7. A news anchor was talking. Scandal involving local tech CEO Trevor Morrison. Sources say Morrison has been accused of fraud and manipulation in his ongoing divorce proceedings. His wife, Rebecca Morrison, has filed emergency custody orders and is seeking full disclosure of hidden assets. The screen showed Trevor's photo, his company headquarters, then switched to a reporter outside St. Michael's Church. According to Father Daniel O'Brien, Morrison used church property to install hidden cameras that captured evidence of an extramarital affair and premeditated planning to remove his pregnant wife from their shared home. The reporter continued, Morrison's company, set to be sold for an estimated $40 million, has not commented on the allegations. Neither has Morrison himself. Becca stared at the screen. How did this get out? She whispered. Father O'Brien's sermon yesterday, Vanessa said. He didn't name names, but he talked about what he'd witnessed. Someone in the congregation connected the dots, posted about it online. It went viral. Trevor's going to be furious. Good, let him be furious. Maybe now people will see him for what he really is. But Becca knew better. Trevor didn't get furious. He got calculated. And a calculated Trevor was the most dangerous kind. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. You're making a mistake. Accept the settlement. This doesn't have to get ugly. Not from Trevor, from his lawyer. Threatening her. She blocked the number. Another text. Another unknown number. Think about what's best for the baby. Fighting me will only hurt her. Trevor. Using their daughter as leverage. Becca blocked that number too. The texts kept coming. Different numbers. Same message. Variations of threats and manipulation. Trevor had apparently decided harassment was his new strategy. She forwarded everything to Grayson. His response, document everything. This helps our case. At midnight, New Year's Eve turned to New Year's Day. Fireworks exploded somewhere in the distance. People celebrated. New beginnings. Fresh starts. Becca sat in Diane's living room. 37 weeks. 5 days pregnant. Homeless. Fighting for custody of a baby not yet born. Watching her marriage implode on the evening news. But she was alive. And angry. And that anger was fuel now. 2 days until the custody hearing. 2 days to prepare. She could do this. She had to. January 2nd. The courthouse was gray stone and ice. Winter in its cruelest form. Becca climbed the steps slowly, belly making balance difficult. Diane held one arm, Vanessa the other. Inside, the security line moved slowly. Metal detectors, ID checks. Everything designed to make you feel small and powerless. Grayson met them on the 3rd floor. Outside Family Court Division B. How are you feeling? He asked Becca. Terrified. Good, channel that into focus. Trevor and his team will try to make you emotional. Don't give them the satisfaction. What should I expect? Judge Eleanor Vance. Fair. No nonsense. She's heard every custody argument in the book. She won't be impressed by money or charm. She'll care about facts. They entered the courtroom. Small. Formal. Wooden benches like church pews. At the front, a clerk organized papers. Trevor was already there, sitting at the defendant's table with his lawyer. Robert Hutchins, expensive suit, confident posture. He didn't look at Becca. Amber wasn't there. Smart. Her presence would have hurt Trevor's case. Judge Vance entered. Everyone stood. She was 54. Gray hair pulled back. Reading glasses. The kind of woman who looked like she'd seen too much and believed too little. Be seated. Case number 2024 FM 8847. Morrison versus Morrison. Emergency custody hearing. Mr. Hutchins, you have the floor. Trevor's lawyer stood. Smooth. Practiced. Your Honor, my client is here today because of unfortunate circumstances. His wife, Rebecca Morrison, has made serious allegations against him. Allegations without merit. My client is a successful businessman, a pillar of the community, and a man who simply wants what's best for his unborn child. Grayson stood. Your Honor, if I may, you'll get your turn. Mr. Mitchell, continue. Mr. Hutchins. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Morrison filed for divorce due to his wife's increasingly erratic behavior during her pregnancy. He has documentation of her instability, medical records showing she ignored physician recommendations, witnesses who observed her making scenes in public, security footage showing her trespassing after being asked to leave. Becca's hands clenched. Every word was a distortion, a lie wrapped in partial truth. My client is concerned for the welfare of his child. Hutchins continued. Mrs. Morrison has no stable housing, no income, no ability to provide for a newborn. Meanwhile, Mr. Morrison has resources, stability, and a genuine desire to be a father. Your Honor, Grayson interrupted. May I present evidence? Judge Vance looked at him over her glasses. You may. Grayson stood, pressed a button on his laptop. The courtroom screen flickered to life. The footage from the Nativity cameras began to play. September 15th, Amber arriving at the Morrison house, using a key, staying for hours. October 3rd, same thing. November 8th, November 22nd, 37 visits, all documented, all time-stamped. Hutchins turned pale. Your Honor, this footage was obtained illegally. No, it wasn't, Grayson said calmly. It's from church property. St. Michael's Catholic Church owns the nativity scene and all security devices attached to it. Father Daniel O'Brien, the parish priest, provided this footage as part of his routine oversight of church property. Judge Vance leaned forward. Continue. The footage shifted. December 23rd. Trevor and Hutchins on the porch, rehearsing. Make sure you seem calm when you tell her to leave. And if she makes a scene, better for us, the more hysterical she looks, the stronger our case. They laughed. The courtroom was silent. Even the clerk had stopped typing. More footage. The locksmith changing locks while Becca was shopping. Boxes of her belongings being removed. Trevor checking his watch, timing when she'd arrive home. Finally, December 24th. Trevor and Amber rehearsing her entrance. Make it look natural. Like you belong here and she doesn't. Judge Vance held up her hand. That's sufficient. Mr. Hutchins, would you like to explain? Hutchins opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Your Honor, my client's personal life is not relevant to his ability to parent. His personal life involves systematically isolating his pregnant wife, staging her removal from their home, and documenting it for legal advantage. That seems quite relevant to his character. Your Honor, sit down, Mr. Hutchins. He sat. Judge Vance turned to Grayson. Mr. Mitchell, what else do you have? Financial records. Your Honor, showing Mr. Morrison has hidden assets worth approximately 8 times what he disclosed in divorce filings. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, all designed to minimize his apparent wealth and therefore his child support obligations. Grayson handed a folder to the clerk, who passed it to the judge. Vance flipped through pages. Her expression grew darker with each one. Mr. Morrison, she said, stand up. Trevor stood. For the first time since the hearing began, he looked uncertain. You concealed $40 million in assets. Your Honor, those are business investments, not personal. They're hidden accounts designed to defraud your wife and child. Don't insult my intelligence. She closed the folder, looked at Becca for the first time. Mrs. Morrison, do you have stable housing? Becca stood. I'm staying with my mother, Your Honor, temporarily, until I can secure my own place. Employment. I left my job when my husband asked me to. He said it was embarrassing that I made less than him. And your pregnancy, Mr. Hutchins claims you ignored medical advice. That's not true, Your Honor. I followed every recommendation from my OB. My husband sabotaged my hospital registration to make it appear I was irresponsible. I have documentation from Dr. Sandra Chen at Mercy General confirming this. Grayson handed over more papers. Medical records, emails, phone logs. Judge Vance reviewed them, nodded. Here's my ruling, she said. Effective immediately. Full temporary custody of the child upon birth goes to Rebecca Morrison. Mr. Morrison will have no visitation until he completes a parenting assessment and psychological evaluation. Your Honor, Hutchins jumped up. You can't. I can and I have. Sit down. Vance continued. Mr. Morrison will immediately provide full financial disclosure. All accounts, all assets, all investments. Failure to comply will result in contempt charges. Your Honor, please, I'm not finished. Mr. Morrison will pay temporary support of $15,000 per month, starting immediately. This number will be adjusted once full asset disclosure is complete. Trevor's face went red. 15,000. Be grateful it's not more. And Mr. Morrison, if I find out you've continued to harass, threaten, or manipulate Mrs. Morrison, I will hold you in contempt so fast your head will spin. Do you understand me? Yes, Your Honor. Good, this hearing is adjourned. Full custody trial scheduled for March 15th. Both parties will appear. Mr. Morrison, your financial disclosure is due in 2 weeks. No extensions. The gavel struck. It was over. Becca stood on shaking legs. Diane grabbed her arm to steady her. You did it, Vanessa whispered. You won. Not won, not yet, but survived. This round, at least. Trevor stood at his table, staring at Becca with an expression she'd never seen before. Not love, not even hatred. Calculation, like she was a problem that needed solving. She met his eyes, didn't look away. I know what you are now, she thought, and I'm not afraid anymore. Outside the courtroom, Grayson was grinning. That was beautiful. Vance doesn't usually rule that definitively at emergency hearings, but the footage, God, that footage was perfect. What happens now? Becca asked. Now Trevor has to disclose everything, and we start negotiating a settlement. Trust me, after today, he'll want to settle. Going to trial after this would be suicide. What about custody? You have it, temporarily. And after that performance, there's no way Vance awards him anything more than supervised visitation. Not after seeing him rehearse manipulating you. Becca leaned against the wall. The baby kicked. Strong. Insistent. We're okay, she whispered to her belly. We're going to be okay. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You humiliated me. You'll regret this. Trevor. Still threatening. She forwarded it to Grayson without responding. He just violated the judge's order, Grayson said with satisfaction. Send me every message he sends. This helps us. They left the courthouse. Outside, snow had started falling again. Thick flakes. Beautiful and cold. A car was waiting. Not Diane's Subaru. A black town car. The driver got out. Mrs. Morrison, I'm here to take you home. Becca looked at Grayson, confused. Court ordered Mr. Morrison to provide transportation and accommodation for you, Grayson explained. He has to pay for a hotel or apartment until you secure permanent housing. His lawyer arranged this. A hotel, not Diane's guest room. Somewhere with space, privacy. Where? Becca asked the driver. The Riverside Hotel. Ma'am, suite on the 10th floor, paid through the end of January. The Riverside, expensive, beautiful. The kind of place Becca and Trevor had stayed for their anniversary once. She climbed into the car. Diane and Vanessa climbed in too. I'm coming with you, Diane said, to make sure it's safe. The hotel was everything the driver promised. Luxury suite, 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, living room with a view of the river. Becca walked through it slowly, touching furniture, testing the bed, opening cabinets. It was nicer than Diane's house, nicer than anywhere Becca had imagined living alone. But it was hers, paid for by Trevor's money, ordered by a judge who saw through his lies. That night, after Diane and Vanessa left, Becca sat by the window, watched snow fall over the city, lights reflecting off the river, beautiful and peaceful. Her phone rang. Marcus Webb. I saw the news, he said. The hearing. Trevor's losing his mind. Good. There's something else you should know. The company sale. The buyers are getting cold feet. The scandal. The allegations. They're worried about Trevor's judgment. Will they back out? Maybe. Probably. They were already concerned about some of his business decisions. This might be the final straw. $40 million. Gone. Because Trevor couldn't keep his lies straight. How is he handling it? Badly. He's drinking, paranoid, convinced everyone's against him. Amber left, by the way. What? She moved out 2 days ago, took her stuff, and disappeared. I think she realized Trevor wasn't the stable meal ticket she thought he was. Even Amber had abandoned him. The perfect life Trevor had constructed was collapsing. Be careful, Marcus warned. Trevor's dangerous when he's cornered. After the call ended, Becca checked the locks on the hotel door. All secure. Security downstairs. She was safe. Still, sleep didn't come easily. Around midnight, her phone buzzed. Email from Grayson. Trevor's lawyer just sent a new settlement offer. $8 million in trust for the baby. $15,000 per month child support. Full custody to you. Trevor gets supervised visitation twice a month if he completes therapy. He admits no fault but accepts all terms. They want an answer by morning. 8 million. More than enough. Security for life. Full custody. The things she'd been fighting for. Becca read the offer 3 times. Then she called Grayson. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think it's a good offer. Better than we'd get at trial." "Probably." He's scared. The footage destroyed his credibility. And what about the admission of fault? He'll never admit fault. Men like Trevor don't. But functionally, this gives you everything you wanted. Money, custody, freedom. "I want one more thing." "What's that?" "I want to keep the right to tell my story. No silence agreement, no non-disclosure. If I want to talk about what he did, I can." A pause. "He won't like that." "I don't care. That's my condition. Otherwise, no deal." Grayson laughed. "I'll tell his lawyer." An hour later, the response came. Accepted. Draft settlement to be finalized by end of week. Becca set down her phone. Looked out at the city. She'd won. Not just custody, not just money, but the right to her own story. Trevor had tried to rewrite her as the villain, the unstable wife, the hysterical pregnant woman, but she'd taken back the narrative, told the truth, and the truth had won. The baby kicked. Strong. Healthy. "We did it," Becca whispered. "We're free." For the first time in weeks, she felt something other than anger or fear. She felt peace. 8 weeks. 2 days until her due date. Becca had settled into a routine at the Riverside Hotel. Morning walks along the river. Afternoons preparing the nursery items Vanessa helped her order. Evenings on the phone with Grayson finalizing settlement details. The settlement was complex. Lawyers on both sides negotiating every comma. But the framework was solid. 8 million in trust, 15,000 monthly, full custody, supervised visitation for Trevor if and only if he completed therapy and parenting classes. And no silence agreement. Becca could tell her story whenever she wanted. That was the part Trevor hated most. His lawyer had pushed back 3 times. Each time, Becca said no. Her story was hers, not his to buy. On January 15th, 3 weeks after the custody hearing, the contractions started again. Real ones this time. Becca woke at 4 a.m. to pain. Sharp. Low in her belly. Different from Braxton Hicks. Different from anything she'd felt before. She timed them. 6 minutes apart. Then 5. Then 4. Called Vanessa. "I'm in labor." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Okay. I'm calling Clara." "Stay calm. Breathe." Becca called Diane next. Her mother answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. "I'm on my way. 20 minutes. Clara arrived first, calm, carrying her bags. She examined Becca in the hotel bedroom. "You're at 4 centimeters. This is active labor. Baby's coming today. Today. Maybe tonight. First babies are unpredictable." Diane burst through the door. Vanessa right behind her, both out of breath from running. "How far apart are contractions?" Diane asked. 3 minutes, Clara said. "And strong. Let's set up." They transformed the hotel bedroom into a birthing suite. Waterproof sheets, towel, supplies, Clara's equipment, everything organized and ready. Another contraction hit. Becca gripped Diane's hand hard enough to hurt. "Breathe through it," Clara coached. "Don't fight the pain. Work with it." The pain was enormous, all-consuming, nothing like Becca had imagined. "I want an epidural," she gasped when the contraction ended. "I can't give you that, but I have nitrous oxide. It'll help." The gas mask helped. A little. Took the edge off, but the contractions kept coming. Harder. Faster. Hours passed. Becca lost track of time. Everything became pain and breathing, and Clara's voice guiding her through. At some point, Vanessa's phone rang. She stepped into the hallway, came back looking worried. "What?" Becca managed between contractions. "Trevor's lawyer called. Trevor wants to be present for the birth." "No." "He claims he has a right as the father." "No." The word came out as a scream. "He gave up that right when he locked me out. He doesn't get to be here." Vanessa nodded, stepped back into the hallway. Becca heard her voice, sharp and firm. Tell your client absolutely not. He's not welcome. If he shows up, we're calling security and the police. Yes, I'm serious. No, I don't care what he wants. Goodbye. She came back. Handled. Another contraction. Worse than before. Becca felt something shift. Something change. I need to push, she gasped. Clara checked. Not yet. You're at 8 centimeters. Almost there. I can't do this. I can't. It's too much. You can, Diane said fiercely. You've survived worse than this. You survived him. This is just pain. Pain ends. Becca did what every woman does in crisis. She made lists in her head, baby names she'd chosen. Grace, after her grandmother, after the Grace she'd found in herself, supplies they'd need, diapers, formula, bottles, people to call, people not to call, her mother's hand, the only anchor. More time passed. Becca stopped tracking, just endured. Finally, Clara said the words, "You're at 10 centimeters. It's time to push." The pushing was worse than the contractions. Every muscle in her body straining. Clara coaching. Diane and Vanessa holding her hands, supporting her back. "I can see the head," Clara said. "One more push. Come on, Rebecca. One more." Becca pushed with everything she had, everything she'd survived, everything she'd fought for. And then, suddenly, relief, release, a cry, high and thin and perfect. "It's a girl," Clara said. She placed the baby on Becca's chest. Warm, wet, screaming, beautiful. Becca looked down at her daughter, counted fingers, counted toes, studied the face that looked like hers and nothing like Trevor's. "Hello, Grace," she whispered. The baby quieted, stopped crying, looked up at her mother with unfocused eyes. In that moment, everything else fell away. The divorce, the settlement, the fight. None of it mattered. Only this. Only Grace. Diane was crying. Vanessa was crying. Even Clara had tears in her eyes. "You did it," Diane whispered. "You brought her into the world safe." Safe. That was the word. Despite everything, the sabotage, the homelessness, the fight, Grace was safe. Clara cleaned the baby, weighed her, measured her. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, 20 inches. Perfect APGAR scores. She's healthy. Becca held Grace while Clara delivered the placenta, while Diane cut the umbilical cord, while Vanessa took photos. The hotel room smelled like birth, messy and primal and real. Nothing like the sterile hospital room Becca had imagined, but somehow better, more honest. Around 9 p.m., 17 hours after labor started, Becca nursed Grace for the first time. The baby latched immediately. Perfect. Natural. "You're a natural," Clara said. "Look at her. She knows exactly what to do." Becca looked down at Grace, her daughter, her responsibility, her reason for everything. "We made it," she whispered. "We're both okay." Her phone buzzed. Text from Grayson. "Heard the news. Congratulations. Settlement papers finalized. Ready for your signature whenever you're ready. Settlement, $8 million. Freedom, the future secured." Another text from Marcus. "Congrats on the baby. Thought you should know Trevor's company sale fell through. Buyers backed out citing reputational concerns. He's ruined." Becca read the message twice. Felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just exhaustion and peace. Trevor had destroyed himself. She didn't need to do anything. His lies had caught up with him. One more text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my life." Trevor, still blaming her, still refusing to see his own role. Becca blocked the number, deleted the message. "Who was that?" Diane asked. "No one important." She looked down at Grace. Sleeping now, perfect and peaceful. This was what mattered. Not revenge, not vindication. Just this. A daughter who would grow up knowing her mother fought for her, protected her, chose her. Vanessa set up a bassinet next to Becca's bed. Clara showed them how to swaddle. Diane made tea that no one drank. Around midnight, Clara left. "Call me if you need anything," I'll check on you tomorrow. Vanessa left too. Get some sleep. I'll come by in the morning. Finally, it was just Becca, Diane, and Grace. Do you want me to stay? Diane asked. Please. Diane curled up in the other bedroom. Becca lay in bed with Grace in the bassinet beside her. Every few minutes, she checked, made sure Grace was breathing, made sure this was real. At 2 a.m., Grace woke crying. Becca fed her, changed her, held her until she settled. You and me, Becca whispered. We're going to be okay. I promise. The words felt true. For the first time in months, they felt true. Morning light filtered through hotel curtains. Grace was 3 days old. Becca had learned more about being a mother in 3 days than she'd learned in 9 months of pregnancy. How to change diapers while half asleep. How to nurse lying down. How to function on 2-hour sleep increments. Diane had extended her stay, sleeping in the second bedroom, helping with everything, being the grandmother Grace deserved. On the 4th day, Patricia Morrison showed up. Becca was nursing Grace when Diane opened the door. Patricia stood in the hallway. Designer coat, perfect hair, holding a gift bag. I'd like to see my granddaughter, Patricia said. Becca's first instinct was to say no, slam the door, protect Grace from the woman who'd defended Trevor's cruelty. But Diane looked at her, raised an eyebrow. Your choice. Come in, Becca said finally. Patricia entered slowly, set the gift bag on the table, looked at Grace with an expression Becca had never seen on her face before. Longing, sadness, regret. She's beautiful, Patricia whispered. She has your family's nose, Becca said, grudging acknowledgement. But your eyes? Patricia sat in the chair across from Becca. Careful, like she was approaching a wild animal. I owe you an apology, Becca waited. I didn't know, Patricia continued, about the cameras, the planning, how calculated it all was. I thought I convinced myself Trevor was just going through something. Midlife crisis, stress. I didn't want to believe my son could be cruel. He is cruel. I know that now. Patricia's voice cracked. I watched the footage. Your lawyer sent it to me. Part of the settlement disclosure. I saw everything. How he rehearsed destroying you. How he laughed about it. Tears ran down her cheeks. Real tears. Not performative. Not manipulative. My husband did something similar to me, Patricia said quietly. 35 years ago. Different circumstances. But the same cruelty. The same calculation. I stayed. I thought that was strength. I thought sacrificing myself was what good wives did. Why are you telling me this? Because you're stronger than I ever was. You left. You fought. You protected your daughter. And I want you to know I'd like to be part of Grace's life. If you'll allow it, on your terms, your boundaries. Becca looked at this woman who'd blamed her, defended Trevor, made excuses for the inexcusable. But she also saw something else. A grandmother who wanted to know her granddaughter. A woman who'd survived her own trauma and recognized it in someone else. You can visit, Becca said slowly, once a week, here, where I control the environment. If you criticize me, defend Trevor, or undermine my parenting in any way, the visits stop. Understood. Understood. And you don't get to buy Grace's love. No excessive gifts. No trying to be the fun grandma while I'm the strict mom. Agreed. Patricia reached into the gift bag, pulled out a small box. Inside was a silver locket. This was my mother's, she said, and her mother's before that. I was going to give it to Trevor's wife for his daughter. I want Grace to have it. The locket was beautiful, antique, valuable. Thank you, Becca said. They sat in awkward silence. Then Patricia asked, May I hold her? Becca hesitated, then nodded. Patricia took Grace carefully, like she was made of glass. Looked down at her with such tenderness it made Becca's chest tight. Hello, sweet girl, Patricia whispered. I'm your grandmother, and I'm going to do better by you than I did by your father. Maybe people could change. Maybe they couldn't. But Becca was willing to give Patricia a chance. One chance. After Patricia left, Diane made tea. They sat together watching Grace sleep. That was gracious of you, Diane said. I spent years trying to earn her approval, Becca replied. Turns out the only approval I needed was my own. The validation whisper felt like truth now. Not hope. Truth. That afternoon, Grayson arrived with the final settlement papers. Sign these and it's done, he said. 8 million in trust. 15,000 monthly. Full custody. Trevor gets supervised visitation if he completes requirements. You retain the right to tell your story. Becca read every page, every clause, making sure nothing had changed. At the end, she signed, Rebecca Morrison. Her name, her signature, her choice. Congratulations, Grayson said. You're officially free. Free. The word felt strange, heavy and light at once. What happens to Trevor now? She asked. His company sale fell through. Buyers cited reputational damage. He's still wealthy, but not $40 million wealthy. And his reputation in the tech world is destroyed. No one wants to work with him. Good. He has to complete 200 hours of therapy before he can petition for visitation. And even then, it'll be supervised. 2 hours. Twice a month. Maximum. 4 hours a month with his daughter. That's what Trevor's manipulation had earned him. Has he tried to contact you? Grayson asked. Block numbers. Threatening texts. I forward them all to you. Good. Keep doing that. Every message builds our case if he violates the agreement. After Grayson left, Becca looked at the settlement papers. Her future in black and white. $8 million. She could buy a house, go back to school, start a business. Anything. But right now, all she wanted was sleep. Grace had other plans. She woke crying, needed changing, needed feeding, needed holding. Being a mother was the hardest thing Becca had ever done, and the best. 1 week later, the story broke publicly. Someone, maybe Marcus, maybe Father O'Brien, maybe just the court system leaked the settlement details, the footage, the full story. It went viral. Tech CEO caught on camera planning wife's humiliation. Millionaire loses everything after nativity scene. Cameras expose affair. Pregnant woman fights back against manipulative husband and wins. The headlines were everywhere. Reddit threads, TikTok videos, Twitter discussions. Everyone had an opinion. Most were supportive. Women sharing their own stories of manipulation. Men condemning Trevor's behavior. People celebrating Becca's courage. But some were cruel, blaming Becca for not leaving sooner, questioning whether she'd known about the affair, accusing her of gold digging. Becca read the comments once, then stopped. Other people's opinions didn't matter. Grace mattered. Her future mattered. That was all. Vanessa called, excited. You're trending on social media. People want to hear your story. I don't want to be famous. You don't have to be, but you could help people. Your story could make a difference. Becca thought about the messages she'd started receiving. Women in similar situations. Women who felt trapped. Women who needed to know they could leave. Maybe Vanessa was right. I'll think about it, Becca said. That night, she started writing, not for publication, just for herself, processing everything that had happened. I married Trevor when I was 24, young, naive, in love with the idea of being chosen by someone successful and confident. I didn't realize until much later that he didn't choose me for who I was. He chose me for who he could make me into. She wrote about the small cruelties, the gaslighting, the control disguised as care. She wrote about the cameras, the lockout, the fight. She wrote about Grace, about finding strengths she didn't know she had. By dawn, she had 10,000 words, not a diary. A testimony. She sent it to Vanessa. What do you think? Vanessa called immediately, crying. It's perfect. It's powerful. You should share it. Where? I don't know. A blog medium Substack somewhere. Women can find it when they're sitting in their cars at 3 a.m., Googling whether they're crazy. That image struck Becca. She'd been that woman, sitting in Vanessa's car, wondering if she'd imagined the red flags, if she'd deserved the treatment, if sharing her story could help even one woman recognize what Becca had been too blind to see. It was worth it. She created a blog that afternoon. Simple. anonymous at first, posted her story. Within 24 hours, it had 10,000 views. Within a week, 100,000. Women commented, shared their stories, thanked her. I left because of you. I recognized the patterns you described in my own marriage. You gave me courage. Becca read every comment, responded when she could. Her story had become bigger than her. It had become a mirror for other women, a validation that they weren't crazy, that their experiences were real. One message stood out, from a woman named Sarah. I just read your blog. I've been living in my car for a week because my husband locked me out. I thought I was alone. Thank you for showing me I'm not. Becca responded immediately. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're going to be okay. I promise. She meant it. Every word. Because she'd been there. In the darkness. In the fear. And she'd made it through. 3 months after Grace's birth, spring arrived. Becca had found an apartment. Small. 2 bedrooms. In a neighborhood with good schools and a park nearby. Nothing like the mansion she'd lost. But it was hers. Her name on the lease. Her key in the lock. Grace was growing fast. Smiling now. Recognizing faces. Diane visited twice a week. Patricia once a week. True to her agreement, Trevor had completed his therapy. Petition for visitation. The court granted 2 hours, twice a month. Supervised. The first visit was at a family center. Neutral ground. A social worker present. Becca brought Grace, handed her to the social worker. Couldn't stomach watching Trevor hold her daughter. She waited in the parking lot, checked her phone obsessively. 2 hours felt like 2 years. When the social worker brought Grace back, she was crying. How did it go? Becca asked, taking her daughter. Mr. Morrison seemed uncomfortable. He held her for a few minutes, then asked if we could just sit. He was on his phone most of the time. Of course he was. Trevor hadn't wanted to be a father. He'd wanted the image of being a father. The reality was inconvenient. The second visit was worse. Trevor arrived 30 minutes late, held Grace for 10 minutes, complained that she cried too much. After that, he stopped showing up. Formally petitioned to reduce visitation to holidays only. The court granted it. Grace would see her father 3 times a year. Christmas, her birthday, Easter. That was fine with Becca. Grace deserved better than a father who treated her like an obligation. The blog had grown. 50,000 followers, messages daily, women sharing stories, finding strength, leaving abusive situations. Becca had started a podcast too, interviewing other survivors, creating a community. One guest was particularly memorable, Amber. She'd reached out through the blog, apologetic, ashamed. I didn't know the full story, Amber said on the podcast. Trevor told me you were separated, that the marriage was over, that you'd moved out. I believed him. When did you realize the truth? Christmas Eve, when I saw you on the porch, pregnant, in the snow. I knew something was wrong, but I told myself his version, that you were being dramatic, that you were the problem. She paused. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Why did you leave? I saw the footage, what he did to you, how he planned it. I realized I was next. If he could do that to his wife, what would he do to me when I was no longer useful? They talked for an hour about manipulation, about how abusers isolate their victims, about complicity and forgiveness. At the end, Amber said something that struck Becca. You saved me too, by fighting back, by telling the truth. You showed me what strength looks like. The podcast episode went viral, over 1 million downloads. Women who'd been the other woman started reaching out, sharing how they'd been manipulated too. The narrative shifted. It wasn't just wives versus mistresses. It was all women versus men who weaponized their vulnerabilities. Becca's story had become a movement. Summer came. Grace was 6 months old, sitting up, babbling, personality emerging. She looked like Becca. Dark hair, green eyes. None of Trevor visible except the Morrison nose. Patricia mentioned it during a visit. She's all you, she said. Not sadly, almost relieved. Is that a bad thing? No, it's perfect. She gets to be her own person, not weighed down by her father's legacy. The settlement money had been invested, managed conservatively. generating enough income that Becca didn't have to work if she didn't want to, but she wanted to. She'd gone back to school, online classes, social work degree, specializing in domestic violence advocacy, turning her trauma into purpose. The blog had attracted attention from publishers. 3 book deals offered. Becca chose the smallest publisher, the one that promised editorial control and authentic representation. She was writing her story, the full story, for publication, not for money or fame, for the woman who would find it in a library or bookstore when she needed it most. One evening, Becca took Grace to the park. Simple, normal. They sat on a blanket, Grace reaching for grass and flowers and everything in her small world. A woman approached, 30-something, nervous. "Are you Rebecca Morrison?" Becca hesitated. She didn't usually acknowledge it in public. "I am. I just wanted to say thank you. I read your blog. I left my husband because of it. I'm 3 months out now. Living with my sister, getting divorced. It's hard, but I'm free." "Congratulations," Becca said. Meant it. "How did you do it? How did you get through the fear?" Becca looked down at Grace, thought about the question. "I realized the fear of staying was worse than the fear of leaving," she said finally. "And I had someone depending on me to be brave." The woman nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for showing us it's possible." After she left, Becca sat with Grace, thinking about all the women who'd said similar things, who'd found courage in her story. She'd spent so long trying to unlock a door that was designed to keep her out, she thought. Turns out, the real prison had been her belief that she needed his permission to leave. The door was unlocked all along. She'd been her own warden. The wisdom whisper felt true, complete. She'd transformed her pain into purpose, her trauma into testimony. And in doing so, she'd found herself. December 24th, 1 year since the lockout. Becca's apartment was decorated for Christmas. Simple, real, a small tree with ornaments Grace had helped choose, which meant grabbing whatever was shiniest. Diane was coming for dinner. Vanessa and her family too. Patricia had been invited but declined. She'd see Grace on Christmas Day, her scheduled visit. The doorbell rang at 5 p.m. Becca opened it expecting Diane. Instead, it was a delivery person, holding flowers. A massive bouquet. "Rebecca Morrison." "Yes, these are for you." No card, but Becca knew who they were from. Marcus had been doing this for months. Small gestures, flowers, coffee deliveries, books Grace might like when she was older. Friendship, maybe someday more, maybe not. Becca had time to decide. No rush, no pressure. She texted him, "Thank you for the flowers. Beautiful." His response, "Merry Christmas. To you and Grace." Simple, kind, no expectations. That's what Becca needed now. Simplicity, kindness. Diane arrived with food. Vanessa brought wine. They cooked together, laughed, watched Grace play with wrapping paper instead of toys. Normal, peaceful, everything Becca had fought for. After dinner, they sat around the tree, Grace asleep in her bassinet, the adults talking quietly. "How's the book coming?" Vanessa asked. "Almost done. Publisher wants it by March." "What are you calling it? Unlocked How I Escaped a Manipulative Marriage and Found Myself?" "Perfect. What about Trevor?" Diane asked. "Have you heard from him? He sends child support on time, shows up for his 3 annual visits. That's it. I think he's given up trying to be a father." "Grace is better off," Diane said firmly. Becca agreed. Around 10 p.m., Vanessa and her family left. Diane too. Becca was alone with Grace. She walked to the window, looked out at the city, snow falling, Christmas lights reflecting off buildings. 1 year ago, she'd stood in snow on Trevor's porch, locked out, homeless, terrified. Now she stood in her own apartment, her name on the lease, her daughter sleeping peacefully, her future secure. She'd lost everything and gained herself. On the windowsill, Becca had set up a small nativity scene, not the elaborate one from Trevor's lawn, something simpler, something she'd painted herself. Mary looked strong, determined, protective. Joseph looked supportive, present, Baby Jesus looked like any baby, innocent, full of possibility. Grace stirred, made small sounds. Becca picked her up, held her close. "You're almost walking now," she whispered. "Soon you'll be running, getting into everything, growing up." The baby grabbed Becca's finger, held tight. "I'm going to tell you this story when you're older," Becca continued. "About the year you were born, about how your mother fought for you, about how we survived." Grace made a sound, not quite a word, but close. "And I'm going to tell you something else, something important." Becca looked down at her daughter. "You came from love, not your father's love. My love, for myself, for you, for the future we deserved." Her phone buzzed, a message from someone who'd read the blog. "I just left. I'm in my car with my 3 kids. I don't know where we're going, but we're going. Thank you for showing me it was possible." Becca typed back quickly. "You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're going to be okay. I promise." She'd sent similar messages 100 times, 1,000. Everyone meant it, because she knew. She'd been there, in the car, in the darkness, in the moment of choice, and she'd chosen herself. Outside, midnight approached, Christmas Eve turning to Christmas Day. Becca thought about last year, the lockout, the humiliation, the cameras recording her worst moment, but those cameras had also recorded the truth, had given her the evidence she needed to fight back. To win, Trevor had tried to use technology to destroy her. Instead, it had saved her. The nativity scene lights glowed on her windowsill, Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. The original story of displacement and survival. Grace reached for the baby Jesus figure, knocked it over. Becca picked it up, set it right. "That's okay, baby girl," she said. "Sometimes we fall, but we always get back up." She carried Grace to the rocking chair, sat down, started to hum, some lullaby her mother had sung to her. The same lullaby she'd sing to Grace, and maybe Grace would sing to her own daughter someday. Generational strength, passing down, at midnight. Becca's phone lit up with messages. Merry Christmas texts from Diane, Vanessa, Marcus, Patricia, Grayson, people who'd stood by her, fought for her, believed her. She responded to each one, then set down the phone. Grace was asleep again, peaceful. Becca looked around her small apartment. The simple tree, the secondhand furniture, the life she'd rebuilt from nothing. It wasn't the mansion, wasn't the designer clothes or the joint bank account with 7 figures, but it was hers, her door, her lock, her life, and nobody could take that away. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the city in white, making everything clean and new. Inside, warmth, safety, peace. The door was unlocked, not because she'd forgotten to lock it, but because she wasn't afraid anymore. She'd survived the worst, faced the darkness, come through the other side, not unchanged, but transformed, stronger, wiser, free. He'd tried to write me as the villain in his story, she thought one last time. Instead, I became the hero in mine, the final validation whisper. Not hope, not anger, not even satisfaction, just truth. Grace shifted in her arms, made small sleeping sounds, perfect and peaceful. "Merry Christmas, sweet girl," Becca whispered. "Our first Christmas in our own home. The first of many." She rocked slowly, humming, watching snow fall outside the window. The nativity scene glowed, Mary strong and determined, Joseph supportive, baby safe, a year ago. Becca had stood in front of a different nativity scene, cameras recording, door locked, life falling apart. Now she had her own scene, small, simple, honest, no cameras, no lies, no performance, just a mother and daughter, safe, together, free. The lock clicked, not denying entry, but securing safety. The door was hers now. And it would always open when she needed it to, because she held the key. She'd held it all along. She just hadn't known it yet, but now she did, and that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to Rebecca's story. If her journey resonated with you, if you felt her pain or celebrated her victory, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what moment hit hardest. Was it the lockout, the cameras, the courtroom victory, or maybe the moment she held Grace for the first time? Your comments help other listeners find the story when they need it most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who feels trapped or gaslit or alone, please share this with them. Sometimes we need to hear someone else's story to recognize our own. Hit that like button if Rebecca's courage inspired you. Subscribe to this channel for more true stories of survival, strength, and second chances. We share stories every week about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And here's something special. If Rebecca's story helped you, drop the word unlocked in the comments. Just that one word. Let's create a community of people who found their own keys to freedom. Remember what Rebecca learned. You're not crazy. You deserve better. And the door was unlocked all along. You just needed to believe you deserved to walk through it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being part of this community. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and never let anyone lock you out of your own life. See you in the next story.